begin?
Wait, right now?
Yes.
Together. Oh God.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Morgan. I'm event coordinator at Politics and Prose, and I'd like to welcome you to PNP Live. Thank you for joining us early. Uh, this is our Black Women in Romance panel, and it is in partnership with the Anti-Racist Table and the Ripped Bodice bookstore in California. And later this evening, I will drop links in the chat so that you can purchase the books of our panelists this evening from the participating indie bookstores. You can ask our speakers a question by clicking on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll try to get as many of those as we can toward the end of our program, but we apologize in advance if we don't have time to address your question. Another note, I have shortened everyone's bio just for time purposes. So let's introduce tonight's guests. Alyssa Cole is an award-winning New York Times and USA Today bestselling author. Her latest book is How to Find a Princess, the second installment in the Runaway Royal series. Kawana Jackson, aka KM Jackson, is USA Today's bestselling author. Her forthcoming novel, How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days, will be released in November of this year. Beverly Jenkins is USA Today bestselling author. Her most recent book, Wild Rain, is the second installment to the Women Who Dare series. And Vanessa Riley writes historical fiction and historical romance, and her next book, Island Queen, will be released on July 6th of this year. Our moderators tonight are Kirsten and Lynn, the founders of the Anti-Racist Table. And the Anti-Racist Table brings anti-racism into daily life as daily practice, which is in their form of a 30-day anti-racist challenge that teaches people how to be an everyday anti-racist. So let's give our virtual guests a round of applause.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for that rousing welcome. And thank you to Politics and Prose and the Ripped Bodice and for all of our wonderful authors for joining us today. We really wanted to bring this event to you because we think that being anti-racist means seeing the humanity in other people, people who are different from you. And it also means dismantling anti-Blackness. And every one of the authors here today plays an important role with their work. They show Black beauty, Black love, Black joy, Black strength, and Black resilience. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lynn to do a land acknowledgement.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to share a land acknowledgement that is inspired by Ruth King. I'd like to call on my ancestors to stand with me as I acknowledge the Native custodians of this land, Washington, D.C., the Anacostan land, and the Piscataway people, those people that are named, unnamed, known, unknown, past, and present. We honor all traditions and traditional custodians of this region, and we recognize our continued connection with this land, with this community, and with the water. We pay respect to the earth, whose generous resources sustain us on a daily basis, and we pay respect to the enslaved African people of this land who were brought, held, and sold here, and all of their descendants, and all of the people throughout this world who are living in captivity. We pay respect to their spiritual labor, and we pay respect to our ancestors whose unwise relationship to race and racism we have all inherited. We pay respect to our teachers and elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all of the young people today who are teaching us. We honor this gathering and everyone here for taking the time to be with us. And may we recognize that we all share an aspiration to be free in heart, mind, and body. Ashe, here ends our land acknowledgement. And so we're so excited to be in this virtual space with all of these dynamic, amazing Black writers, women writers. You guys are, leading the way, and we're just so honored to be here with you to talk to you about all the work that you're doing and to celebrate everything that you are and what you bring to the world. So Kirsten's going to start with the questions.
So we thought we love icebreakers, and we thought it would be fun to start with an icebreaker about your most recent protagonist. So can you please share a fun fact about the protagonist from your latest book. And it can be something that isn't in the book. It could be something that you know and we don't know, but I'll just open it up. And does anyone want to go first, or I can just call on people? Miss Bev, we're going to start with you.
Oh, good. Well, I always got to be first. Anyway. All right. I was thinking about that question this afternoon, and I come to the conclusion. Spring Rain loves her some bacon. So that's my answer to the trivia icebreaker. Bacon.
Bacon. Okay.
Nice.
Good one. I want to find out more about that.
All right.
Now?
Lynn?
No.
I had a hard time with that. I was like, a fun fact. That was a hard one. I thought about Carrie, and I said that I gave her glasses. So I said she's probably the most like me. So I made her nearsighted like I am, very nearsighted. And she learned how to crochet before she learned how to knit like I did. So that's a fun fact about Carrie.
Very nice. Very cool. Vanessa.
Hey, in An Earl, the Girl and a Toddler, which came out in April, Daniel Thackeray has a gap in between his teeth, like my husband. And he only shows it when he's really happy.
Nice. All right, Alyssa.
And How to Find the Princess, Desnaria, one of the heroines, also has a gap in her teeth. She shows it all the time, but she can bench press the other heroine, Makeda. That is her fun fact.
Love that.
Very impressive.
Fun fact. Nice. Yes. Right.
I love it.
Oh my gosh.
That's a talent that'll come in handy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, especially now.
I want to know more.
So now, maybe each of you can tell us a little bit more about your recent books. And audience members, feel free to drop into the chat any of your favorites, but we'll start with Alyssa.
Sorry, I keep muting it because of the 10 million frogs outside, who I guess are probably like battling the cicadas for sound dominance. But How to Find a Princess is book 2 in the Runaway Royal series. How to Catch a Queen is book 1. And in this book, it's kind of a play on the Anastasia story, the movie, more like the movie, not like the real, tragic story. But it's basically one of the heroines, Makeda, is a people pleaser. She works at a grocery store in Atlantic City, and she gets fired and dumped on the same day at the beginning of the book, in part because of her people pleasing tendencies. And she also has a family secret, which is that her grandmother had a fling with the supposed runaway prince. So they are possibly the heir to the throne of this like island kingdom that is no longer a monarchy. But her mother became obsessed with that and kind of ruined the idea of being a princess for her. She hates it. She wants nothing to do with it. And then the kingdom decides that they're going to start looking for the long lost royal family, more as like a tourism, a way to boost tourism. And an investigator from the World Federation of Monarchists, Desnaria, shows up on her in their house, basically, and is very determined to bring her back to the kingdom, which is called Iberania, because she has her own personal reasons, which is that her family is descended from the royal guard of Iberania, and she's trying to redeem them after the royal family went missing.
I love all your royal family series component, and who can't relate to the people pleasing? I mean, I know I can't, but so next we'll go to Kawana.
Oh, she's living my dream. I'm still waiting for somebody to show up at my door and do that for me at this age. My most recent is Real Men Knit, and Real Men Knit is book 1 in my Real Men Knit series. I haven't really named the series, but it's book 1, and it's the story of Jesse, the youngest strong brother, and Jesse and Carrie, who is his love interest, are trying to revive Jesse's late mother's knitting shop. Mama Joy has recently passed away. He's got 3 other brothers, his foster brothers, and suddenly I can't remember what Real Men Knit's about. I got so into Alyssa's story. I'm like, what is this book about? It's so funny. I'm like, can somebody take me away? But Jesse's mom, Mama Joy, has suddenly passed away when the book opened, so I'm giving nothing away there. And he's got 3 other brothers. They're all foster brothers. And he's devastated by his mom passing away. His brothers want to sell the shop off because they don't know what to do with it. But Jesse wants to keep it open because he really has no other prospects and nothing else to do, no career or anything like that. And he's the least likely brother to run a knitting shop. So this is his story of keeping the shop open and finding love along the way with Carrie, who has sort of had a secret crush on him all these years. And it's called Real Men Knit, and it's the first in the Strong Brothers series about 4 brothers who all know how to knit, and they're all sexy guys.
Oh, that sounds good.
I have to say, I love the Strong Brothers, and they give Miss Bev a run for her money with, you know, the Yates men and the Levesques.
I'm about to fall off my chair and I can just go home now. Never compare me to Miss Bev. So I'm about to pass out. I need my water now. Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't know how much Miss Bev I have on my shelf here.
That is great.
I gotta turn my fan on high.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, but I don't think I can take that compliment.
Take it, girl. Take it.
Oh, thank you.
Take
Thank
it.
you very much.
So Vanessa, we'll go with you next.
Okay, that's a hard one to beat.
Well,
but I'll try. An Earl, the Girl and a Toddler is the second in the Rogues and Remarkable Women series. It is, as we followed on in The Duke, the Lady and the Baby, we have the Secret Society of the Women's Grace. They are an organization of women dedicated to helping widows, because during that time frame, if you were widowed, your dower, which was part of that came from your dowry, was supposed to be administered by your husband's family. If your husband's family didn't like you, didn't think you should have those children, well, you got a little bit of a problem because they hold the cards. And particularly if you're a foreign woman. So here when my women are coming from the West Indies, which was a common practice to find husbands because they're coming with, from wealthy landowners in the West Indies. In book 2, we have our lovely amnesiac from book 1, Jemina St. Mar. And so can you imagine that you only have the last 2 years of your life? That's all you know. You've been released from Bedlam. You've been given a fortune. You don't know why you have this fortune. You know you're a widow. You don't even remember your husband. And so she has to figure out who she is, and she wants to use the widow's grace in order to do that. But the man standing in her way is Daniel Thackeray. Daniel Thackeray was the barrister from book 1. He's newly elevated to be the Earl of Ashbrook. His uncle tried everything short of killing him to make that happen because Daniel is mixed race and his uncle wasn't. And that led to a couple problems. But now Daniel has been elevated and he wants to keep his head down. He doesn't want, he's navigated this fine tune of being a barrister. He's one of Prinny's favorites. And he's defending people in the court system, experiencing everything that you would think of a celebrity barrister who is an exception for his time frame, who has been given privilege because of this association with Prinny, with people hating on him because of all of this. And now he's been elevated. So he really wants to keep his head down, but he can't because these darn widows are after him. And that's An Earl, the Girl and the Toddler.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an amazing story. Miss Bev?
Wild Rain is my most recent book. Came out in February. It's book 2 in the Women Who Dare series. Spring Rain is a rancher. Her love interest is a guy from back east. The story takes place in Wyoming. And she don't want to have anything to do with love. You know, I've said before, you know, girlfriend is all barbed wire and you know, hard edges. And she's like, no, you know, I don't need you in my life. You know, get the hell out of here. And he's just fascinated with her. So he is my first cinnamon roll hero. So you have this very, very tough as nails lady and this kind of sweet, always got a book in his hand guy. And that's the story of them trying to navigate this relationship. They balance each other very well, but she is all about, I ain't about any of this. So you have to read it to see who conquers who and how it ends.
Yeah, I love how you all have like such strong women characters. You know, that's just really inspiring. But I'm wondering about like who inspired you, you know, and thinking about your journey to become a writer. Like, what was it that, like, was there a memory that you can draw from to tell us about like what that journey was for you to kind of step into this as a path for a career? Because that's a hard career to be in, especially in the romance industry with it, you know, all the situation that we, you know, we'll get into later, but it just seems like, how did you guys believe, you know, you had to take courage, you had to believe in yourself. How did that all happen and what was your inspiration? So, Alyssa, I'll ask you first.
I pretty much always wanted to be a writer. And I mean, I wanted to be other things too, like a paleontologist, but a writer was the more realistic thing and the thing that kind of was just always in the background of everything else. I didn't really have an actual idea that it was a job. It was something kind of that I was just always like, yeah, I'm gonna write a book. And like, you know, I was always writing short stories and little things. I actually thought I would be a comic book artist. And anyway, when you're a kid, you want to be a lot of things, but a writer was in the top 3. And I just always enjoyed writing. When I find, and it was one of those things where I was just always like, one day I'll finish a book. And then one day I realized I actually had to finish a book to finish a book. I couldn't just keep saying I was going to be a, you know, writer or was going to write a book one day. And I think it was like 2010 when I first did National Novel Writing Month, because I was like, okay, I have this story that I've been like writing. I wrote like 3 chapters over the course of a year or something. And I was like, okay, here's something that will make me sit down and finish. And I finished it, and eventually it went on to be my first book that got published a few years later, called Eagle's Heart. It's not in publication anymore, which is probably good. But it was about like an Albanian agent and a teacher in Brooklyn. But yeah, I kind of just always wanted to be a writer, always read all different kinds of things. And I always loved books with love stories. I didn't really know what a genre was until pretty late in life. I was just like, okay, this book has, you know, aliens, this book has aliens and kissing, this book has it. So yeah, I got inspiration from, you know, people from all different genres, because I was just basically reading whatever was in my parents' bookcase and whatever was in the library. So.
Cool, thanks. Yeah. Vanessa?
My mother, I think, is my inspiration. My mother was a very gifted writer. And when she went to Columbia, she wrote a phenomenal paper that actually disappeared, her professors and whatnot. And it's a weird story that I only remember little pieces of it, but it was one of those things where I think if she had continued, if she had been encouraged, if she had thought it was an avenue, that she would have done such great things. But it was turns up missing, and that encouragement that she needed to go on to that next level just was not there. And so when I start having these things in high school that I looks like I can write, I have some sort of talent here. My mother encouraged math because I was also good at math. So I went that route because she said you should always be able to pay your bills. I think that's a very good thing. Be able to pay your bills, and math can make you pay your bills. And she's right. It does do that. And I went on to school and got several degrees. But the love for writing just never stopped. And it's a wonderful world we live in now, because really, when I was younger, it was just Beverly, it was just Brenda. And if you do math well, that's not good odds. That's really not good odds of having a successful, traditionally published career. So, math always won. It's wonderful now that there's so many new opportunities in indie publishing, as well as the traditional landscape. And it just seems like doors are so much more open. So I think anybody out there, young people, encourage them to write. This is a viable career if you hone your skills and believe in your work and push it out there.
Yeah, that's good inspiration. Thank you, Vanessa. Beverly?
As many of you know, I hadn't planned on doing this. All I ever wanted to do was work in a library. I was the editor of my elementary school newspaper in the 4th grade.
I love that.
Which really doesn't prepare you for anything, but it looks good on your resume. And then we were talking about this on Twitter the other day. I was telling stories at night to my sisters, which I guess we now call fanfic, because they were stories. I grew up in Detroit, the height of Motown. And we were really, really into pop culture. So all of these stories, I had everybody living in this big old house, and it was Motown, and it was the Star Trek people, and it was Man from U.N.C.L.E., and it was, Lost in Space, and there was all these, romantic elements and all this. And I told this every night to me and my 2 sisters. But I didn't want to be a writer. All I ever wanted to do was work in a library. And I just sort of stumbled into this, and Avon kept giving me contracts. So I kept writing stories. And now 28 years later, I'm still here. And as Vanessa said, in an offshoot of what Vanessa said, I am so pleased to see these young women who have come up and are writing these stories, because when Brenda and I started, and Rochelle and Donna and Betty and Ford, you could count us all on maybe 2 hands. And for many years, I was very concerned about the structure and whether, Black romance would continue. Now, nope, y'all got this. And I can be happy when I go to the big bookstore in the sky and know that the tradition will be upheld in a way that presents quality and represents and makes us all proud. So that's sort of my story.
Thank you, Ms. Bev. Well, I'm glad that you didn't just end up working in the library. All right, Kawana.
Like Ms. Bev, I always wanted to be a writer, but I didn't start out wanting to be a writer. I started out, I wanted, it's in my bio. I always wanted to be a writer, but I always wanted to be a fashion designer. And a fashion designer first. I was a fashion designer for over 10 years. And when I say I wanted to be a writer, it wasn't a writer like this. It was sort of the dream of what people want to be a writer, not the working writer that I am now, not the person who's going to be up all night doing galleys and edits tonight, and not that person who sees so many sunrises, not that kind of writer, the person who dreams of a story and knows the beginning, middle, and end, and then it's done. the person who's finished writing. But what got me into writing was the fact that I lost a babysitter. I have twins who are now 27, but I lost a babysitter when they were in first grade. And I asked my boss at the time, to leave work a half an hour early to take, and I would take work home. And they said no. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do? I can't leave my kids like standing outside the school. They were already doing after school. I can't leave them just there. Let's have the police call, but, you know. And they said no. And my husband had the job with the better health care and the better salary. So I had to quit. And that's what led me to start writing. Well, after looking for freelance work and not getting it, and doing lots of retail jobs and different things. And I still did retail work while while starting to write, and looking for jobs with, what they called mommy hours, which, and still, not making it. And I was always a huge romance reader, have been all my life. And that's, one day I had a story that was brewing in my head, and I decided to give writing a go. And I wrote a book, had the nerve to send it out. It was terrible, so bad. Got tons of rejections. And going to Miss Bev's cinnamon roll hero, who challenges her heroine, I'll never forget saying to my husband, oh, getting a rejection and saying, oh, this is too hard. This is too hard. I'm not doing this anymore. And he just flippantly said to me, walking out of the bedroom in our old place, he said, well, then you give up too easy. I'll never forget. And that's just his way of doing. He knew it. I know he knew exactly what he was saying. He said, well, then you give up too easy. And I cursed him, just I said, made my face and cursed him and said, well, then I'll show you. And that was just the beginning of me writing and sending and writing and sending. And, I think it was about 11 years or so until I got a yes, but I kept writing.
I love that.
Because it was pretty much an I'll show you, because I'm just that mean.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the thing, if you have that dream and you just keep aspiring to it, it's going to work out. So that's beautiful.
He's my challenger, and he knew what to say.
Yeah, who's written a book and had some rejection. You got to keep going. Don't give up, right?
Yeah. He knew not to say, don't give up. You got to keep going. He pretty much was just like, I'll say something that'll make her not give up. And he said the right thing.
Yeah, so you got to thank him for all this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we want to throw out a trivia question for the audience they can put the answer in the chat. And it is, name all 3 of the Yates couples. And if you get extra credit, there's actually a fourth one in there. But we'll see what people come up with. And Morgan, I think, is going to put the question in the chat. But in the meantime, we want to talk to you guys. It has been, something this past year and a half, between the pandemic, the racial reckoning, just being alive as a Black person right now. So what can we first start with what you've been happiest to see in the romance genre during this period of time? What maybe has changed, or what has drawn more interest?
Well,
I'll start with, did somebody want to volunteer?
I'll say I'm just thrilled each time I see news of another Black author getting a deal. I cheer every time it comes across my screen. It just it makes me so happy to see more Black, more authors of color, but especially more Black female authors in romance getting deals. Just makes me so happy and so proud, because I'm old enough to remember when we in bookstores were not shelved in romance.
Yeah.
So to see us getting deals, and to know that we will, these authors will have their books out, next year or the year after next in the romance section is a huge deal. And the fact, it's also sad that this is a huge deal that will be in the romance section is kind of sad, but it's just the truth. I mean, we're still, some of us are of the day and age when you're watching something and we are watching Real Housewives. Say we're watching Real Housewives right now, and you're like, oh, look, there's a person of color on, the Real Housewives of New York. That didn't happen last season or the season before. So these things are a big deal. Representation is still such a big thing that it gives so much joy when you see it, when you see your own people not being othered. It just is, it's a big deal. So I'm thrilled every time. I'm thrilled. I'm so happy to see it. I just want to see more and more of it. Make room for, seeing that there could be room for everyone is only going to help society. And that's my feeling. This is my personal opinion, but it's only going to help society in general and how people view people. My feeling is the way entertainment goes, there are eyeballs that are more than just ours as authors. The general public is sort of the way the general public will go. So I'm hoping that it continues, and I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, we're rooting for everybody Black.
Yes, absolutely. I'm thrilled about it.
For everybody
And
Black.
to just jump off of Kwana's, I think for me, the happiest thing, which is also stressful, but also makes me happy, is that I have completely lost track of how many deals. Before, it used to be like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes.
I know exactly who got a deal. I know exactly who has a book coming out. And at this point, I have no idea. And
Right.
I'm like, it's because there are so many.
That's a beautiful
and still
thing.
Not enough, like still not
Right. It's a good
close
thing.
to enough, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
But still so many that at this point, I'm not like, okay, this person, okay, we know this release date for this one person that's coming out like in 2 months. So I think that's like a good thing too. And also that people are starting to get paid more.
Yes.
Looking
still not
at the
enough,
deal,
but paid
still
more.
not enough, still not enough,
but more.
But starting to look at the deal memos and see, okay, this person was actually paid at least something for this book. It's not just they're good, because
Yeah.
because they're and this is like the levels of like diversity when it comes to like, okay, so you start seeing deal memos and it's like, this person has a book, hey, we are putting out a diverse author. And it's like, that's cool. How much are you paying them? Because people actually need to make money.
Right.
So, and so it's starting to get, I think that's starting to get changed for the better
Absolutely.
too. And hopefully we'll continue to.
Yeah. Vanessa?
For me, the coolest thing was this, during the pandemic, was the first time I was ever in bookstores. Tradition, I've been at this game for a while, but A Duke, the Lady and the Baby was the first time in bookstores.
Wow.
And it would have to come out during the middle of the pandemic, right? So it took forever to actually be safe enough to go see my book, and it was sold out. So I was like, okay, I'll take that book. But to go in there now and to see, like Kwana and Alyssa saying, seeing the romance section completely integrated is so wonderful. You just don't even understand. I don't know. I think you ladies can feel that. But when you walk into a bookstore and you don't have to look at the little special end cap that has everything in there from, Christian fiction to the genre African American Christian fiction, whatever that is. And anthologies and everything, and the romance titles all on one end cap. And that tells you how many books they were ordering too, because they fit all on one end cap. It's like, bare minimums. Yeah. And now to see the expansive, romance sections completely integrated with peoples of color, Black people, it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Because for a long time it wasn't.
It absolutely wasn't.
They had us, they had me and Brenda and, all us old hens, but everybody else was like all over the damn store. And I was on stage screaming at people about it and all of that. So
yeah, now if we can just get you guys paid more.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they're talking about, pay equity. So the pay equity continues to be an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
It does. It does, yeah.
So, you know, the romance obviously is a billion-dollar industry, and Black writers are being we're having more representation, as you ladies have been talking about and celebrating. We're all very happy about, but need more. This year we saw the public react to Bridgerton. So when you think about sort of Bridgerton, the racial reckoning, where we are right now as a nation, where do you see, you know, what do you see the future looking like for Black romance writers? And do you see more, you know, Bridgerton was based on a book, a series written by a white author who really didn't have that diversity in the actual book. And you all, obviously, we could take any one of your books.
Nope.
We would love to see every one of your books on film, on TV. Yeah, what do you think about where we are and what might be coming?
Okay, I think Bridgerton has nothing to do with Black romance writers. This is my opinion. Other people have different opinions. Bridgerton, the books are by a white author. All the characters are white. That's it. And that is fine. But I think the series itself is something separate. It's a Shondaland series.
Yeah.
That is something separate from romance. It's overlapping, but it's not romance. I mean, it has romance storylines, and it's derived from a romance book, but the diversity of Bridgerton is Shonda. So for me, it's two separate things. And I think, like for me, it's actually frustrating because we have Vanessa right here, who is actually writing diverse Regency books. And then I have to keep hearing about Bridgerton and Black authors. And I'm not saying anything about you or the question, but this is something that has been coming up over and over and over again for the whole year.
Yeah.
And I think it's just kind of like, I don't know, something people started saying, and then it just kind of got, because Bridgerton is not necessarily helping Black romance authors. No. Like, we're not selling books because of Bridgerton. The Bridgerton books are at the top of the charts, which is expected when a series is adapted. And now there's a Black guy on the cover, and the guy in the book is white.
Which that is extremely
it's weird. So it's like
and strange. That is very strange.
It actually is an interesting thing to be talking about, like for me, in the idea of anti-racism, because it's a thing that's like as a show, it's like, okay, cool, it's diverse, it has like this kind of different historical thing. But when it comes to romance, it's actually like something different. Mm-hmm. And so, but then it kind of got conflated with the way it was discussed. There are actually other things that are much more relevant to Black romance writers, like Insecure, even Sanditon, I mean, which actually had a Black character in it and wasn't changed. So I think, yeah, it's like this weird thing where it's like, there's obviously nothing wrong with enjoying the show Bridgerton or the books Bridgerton, but like, whenever someone asks me about it, I'm like, this has nothing to do with me.
Can I ask a question? I'm going to just jump in and just take things off the rails. I'm going to ask this question of Alyssa, and then Vanessa, you can jump in too with Bridgerton, because there are a lot of readers. I'm going to go to like my Black friends who don't read romance, say they might be thriller readers or something like that, who got sucked into Bridgerton because Reggie is just so fine, because a fine man is a fine man.
Ray J.
Ray J.
Ray Jean Page.
A fine Black man is a fine Black man, and that is a fine man. So they got sucked in by him, right? And then they got interested in, what is this Regency genre situation? So they'll say to me, because I'm the only romance writer they know, and they'll say to me, which they have, so tell me about what is this Regency? And I'm like, okay, so now I guide them to Vanessa, which I have. So here you go, read Vanessa Riley if you want to read Regency. And so in that way, it would help. And it has helped. Well, I'm going to say it has helped because I've sold, 5 of Vanessa Riley's books this way. So, you know, and it might have, because now I have seen on in caps, if you like Bridgerton, you will like the Earl, you know, an Earl and a baby. I'm going to say the title, Vanessa, we'll say it right. And I have seen Vanessa's book on in caps now because of this. So in that way, it has helped Vanessa, because there's not enough, you know, they don't have enough contracts for Black Regency authors like Vanessa, but you know, they'll have Vanessa there. So it has helped in that way, but it is a screwy, it's helped in the screwiest of kind of ways, is where I'm going to say. And it actually has, and I'm hoping it will bring more and give more contracts to Black historical writers who are writing, you know? So I mean, it's a weird sort of situation.
Kwana, first of all, I want to thank you for every personally hand-delivered sale that you brought me. I appreciate that.
Listen, we do, us divas do what we do.
We gonna do it, you know.
We're gonna do what we gotta
right
do
there.
for
See, I just put it out, right? Knit is right there. So I do my part too.
I love you.
But it points to the fact that, you know, I'm it, right? For the most part. There's some Black writers, indie wise, but from a traditionally published perspective, I'm it. And, you know, my series, Rogues and Remarkable Women, was contracted by Kensington in 2019. I was a risky series in 2019. Okay?
Wow.
They took risks because whether, you know, it was a risk.
I'm making a face.
I'm like, how do I put this so that I don't get fired?
Nah,
right?
Not really.
I'm like thinking in my head, how do I not get fired by saying this?
Code switch.
But there was a disbelief that throughout my career that people would buy a Regency written by a Black woman.
And Black people existed in the Regency.
Even though, you know, Eva Rutland was a Black woman that wrote Regencies. You know, back in the 80s and the 90s, right? So I'm not the first.
Characters, though.
You know.
White characters, though.
Exactly.
Right.
Name of the author again?
Eva Rutland.
Eva Rutland.
But I think it was a disbelief by certain people, but not by, they weren't talking to the right people. And I don't think they took so much of a risk. That might just be what they were saying.
It's the comp, it's the lack of comp.
The lack of
comp. Yes, exactly, Alyssa.
There's always a lack of comp because Blackness is considered the comp.
Yes, because they're comping it to what they're comping it to, and they're comping it to how they've been marketing it and to what money they've been putting behind it. And you know, they're like, well, the past sales.
And who's been reading it?
Yeah, yes.
Who's been reading it?
So that you're trying to measure against something that doesn't exist. If you haven't been putting any money, and so
you haven't been putting money behind it, you've been shelving it down here or marketing it over this way, and they say, well, the past it hasn't been doing well, blah 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 blah. So we're taking this risk on you this way. Well,
anyway, go ahead, baby. Go ahead.
You do it the right way. Of course, it's going to do well. You've got a great author. You've got a great story. You market it the right way. It's going to do.
One of the things that I'm extremely grateful for is in the middle of a pandemic, readers found A Duke, The Lady, and the Baby.
Yeah.
We earned out in like 5 months.
That's wonderful.
For the first time, I'm in traditionally print, first time in bookstores, and we earned out in 5 months. We've got like 6 different translations coming up of the books.
Amazing.
And that's a huge deal. That's
huge. That's seriously big.
Yes. And it's
what languages are they translating?
Romanian.
Wow, Romanian.
You know, I have a list of them, but I know Romanian, French,
I wonder.
The French are
Portuguese.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's a couple others. And I think each and every one of those demographics out there, you know, more power to you. But
thank you.
But they took a chance. I mean, and once again, we're talking about 2018, 2019. It's risky to do this because they don't know what market perception is going to be. They don't know how to market it exactly. And people, you know, I'm just very grateful that Kensington took a risk, and the rest is history now. Bridgerton's is helping the way I look at it is Bridgerton is helping people who disregarded romance. There's a whole pocket of readers that I find now coming to look at romance.
That's true.
That disregarded it, didn't think about it, but now they saw this cool thing on Netflix and they're coming in, and how that's translating to what they're picking up, I'm not sure.
We don't know.
You know, I see some really interesting conversations on Clubhouse about Bridgertons, and you see readers that I would never have pictured them. They bought all 8 books and they're going through, because now they got to know how it's going to end up and all these sorts of things. So there has been more people looking at romance, but has it helped Black romance? No. Has it helped the one person maybe writing Regency romances? Maybe.
And I think that's
maybe that's a timing thing also. It could be a pandemic kind of timing thing. This sort of, you know, it happened during the pandemic time where so many eyeballs were there too. We were
all trapped. Come on, it was Christmas. It was Christmas Eve. We were trapped.
One space. Like, you know, it could be. So
if you put a dinner in front of starving people, we gonna eat.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's watching. You know,
we gonna eat. And then he was a feast. Let's just put it this way. He was a feast. Regé Jean Page.
That in like 2 days.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an important point to talk about, certainly in the context of anti-racism. And I think that people looking at the series and thinking that it represents one thing when it doesn't. And it's important to know, because we want people to be, if you're going to be anti-racist, be anti-racist, not some kind of, sticker anti-racism, nothing that really moves the needle or really advances things. And that's
it's weird because like I do think that the show advanced things as far as like television. Obviously it was like a huge thing, but I just don't know if the overlap, like I think diverse historical TV shows maybe will reap some benefits from that, possibly.
I think Sanditon was renewed because of the interest in Bridgerton, because it was canceled.
They weren't going to renew that.
It was canceled, so it's been coming back. So you will see now. I've seen some janky historicals come out that it's like, please, no, just skip that and go to a better story. There are better stories out there.
Janky historicals. Is that a new genre?
Janky historicals.
I do think it will also we'll see more like when the pandemic is, more people are vaccinated and things start to change in Hollywood, and you start to see what is getting actually picked up, and because I don't think they're doing like that much. They're doing stuff, but it's still, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. So I think it will be interesting to see like in a couple of years what the landscape looks like then.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, Insecure, The Photograph, I don't know if you saw that movie. I love that. Sylvie's Love those. Those are all, Black love. And I don't know if you saw Belle. That was a Regency. And it really
that was Georgian.
Gets to the,
that was Georgian.
It's Georgian. Okay. Georgian. That really gets to the point of why we need to be interconnected. She impacts the decision that has to do with the abolition of slavery in England. So it really is important. Lynn, I think it's your turn.
Oh, okay. I was so enthralled with the Bridgerton conversation. I forgot I was even asking a question. Oh my God. All right, let me get back to it here. So I guess, what is it that you guys each feel like you want to be the takeaway that you're giving, and leaving with your readers? What is it that you want them to feel the most from what you're reading, from what you're writing? And also, I think along with that, it seems like you guys really are very passionate about the characters that you are introducing to your audience, and how important is, the essence of your characters, and does that affect kind of what you're trying to leave with your reader as kind of like the takeaway, the lesson, or the joy that you want them to have? So
I think, don't pay attention to my landline. For me, I want people, Black people and non-Black people. The takeaway is that we were more than slaves, that our history did not end in 1865. The bittersweetness of the 19th century, the creativeness, yes, to Jim Crow and the Red Summer of 1919 and Tulsa and all of that. But we didn't let that stop us from building the foundations of the people upon whose shoulders we are standing. So Black joy is important, even though Hollywood, I don't think, sees it that way, but we are more than the narrow focus that we've been given. So that's my small legacy, hopefully.
I want to call it small.
That's you. That's you. You do it well. You do it well. I'm loving all your books. I really am.
Good, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Nessa?
I'm taking what Bev says. I want to show that we started before 1865.
Right.
That we have a history, it's not just kings and queens in Africa, spaceship, then dropped down in 1865, slavery. And our story is not just US centric, the West Indies, Africa, India. There are so many places where people of color, Black women, Black men have done great things. And so I want to bring those stories to you. And I want to show you that even if there were dire circumstances, people found ways to survive, people found ways to thrive, people found ways to love. That is what I want to be able to contribute.
Alyssa?
I'm blanking. Both of what both of you said was so good. I think I just want to contribute stories. Oh, my screen is frozen.
Yeah.
We can still hear you though.
Oh, you can hear me? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just be talking. Like no one heard. I think I just want to write, all kinds of different stories, the stories that I wanted to see when I was growing up.
Yeah.
That I wished I would see on the bookshelf, that now you can go, like Vanessa was saying, you can go into a bookstore and see, within romance and even in, YA, sci-fi, you're starting to see more of these in so many different genres. But I think I just want to write the world as it is. Even if some people want to pretend, even though I'm writing fiction, but in my fiction, I'm still representing the world as it was for me when I was growing up and for most of my life. And people try to pretend that this is like something new, but like both Vanessa and Ms. Bev said, we did not just randomly suddenly arrive here. America got built somehow, number one, and there were people living there before that building happened. And so it's just all of these things that it's like, and kind of like Kwanda said earlier, through fiction, we can just kind of, because fiction and pop culture, kind of more people will be accessing that than a history book. You can really assert that we were here and we are here and falling in love, having joyful moments, and just existing. Because sometimes it's like if you read certain stories, it's like we didn't even exist.
Right.
And that's
right. Juan?
For me, it's so funny. We all seem to have the same sort of feeling and the same theme. And it just reminded me of something my husband and I always say when we're watching TV or watching a movie, and we sort of happen to notice where are the Black people. And my husband always says this thing. He goes, "Oh, Black people weren't invented yet." that's our running line, is Black people weren't invented yet. And I guess that's kind of what I write. I mean, and people sort of have a way, my stories are like movies in my head. And I guess my main characters are usually a Black woman. And in my own head, it's sort of, I have this sort of soundtrack running. I guess everybody is their own movie. You're the star of your own movie in your head. And for so long, Black women have been relegated to being the sidekicks, but you know, in my stories, we're not the sidekicks. They're the stars. We're the stars and they're the stars. And that's what I want to bring out in my books, you know, that we're not relegated to being the sidekicks. We're, you know, we're the stars. So that's
Love
what I hope that they take away from my books.
Love that.
And you know, some swoony parts and some joy.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, we're running close on
Oh, no.
time, and
have to
we
go to-
want to say we love your work. We love your work. Anybody watching, if you're not buying, reading any of these authors, please go out and buy them. Tell your friends, get the word out.
Yeah.
Can you?
Perfect. These are the perfect books for summer. By the pool, relaxing.
They're perfect all the time.
Yeah.
So can we go around and ask people either your summer recommendation or what you're reading now, and then make a plug for what you're working on, when people can get your next book, where they can find your work.
Yeah. And we forgot to add another trivia question. Do have
Why don't
time
we
for
go?
one? Just to throw it out there for the participants to do while we're talking.
Okay, where is Prince Babiso from? Did I pronounce that correct?
Babiso, and he's from
Babiso.
Oh, this is
Tesla, which is a fake, like every book in the Reluctant Royals except for A Duke by Default has a made up kingdom, but it's based on Lesotho, obviously. I just moved the letters around, and I didn't give it a completely different name because it's like I took some inspiration from there, but I also didn't want to I didn't want to make real places for the series overall, but I also didn't want to give it a completely different, like other places have completely different names unless they are actively inspired by some place, because I did want people to be able to figure it out. So it's not like, oh, I just made up this kingdom totally by myself, like that it's based on a real thing.
I'll just give the other two because I don't want the other authors to think we didn't come up with a question for them. What is the name of the organization that Patience and Jamina work with? And then the next one is, what is the name of Jesse Strong's family business? Okay, so now if each of you can tell us either a summer read, what you're reading, and then where we can find you, what's your next project. I'll start with Miss Bev.
Everybody knows you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. I'm not reading anything right now, but I am promoting High on the Hog. If you have not seen
Netflix.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Get your Netflix and your popcorn and enjoy yourself. So that's my
And
recommendation.
get the book. I have the book too.
Yeah, yeah. I saw the book. You know, I saw the book, the hardcover is going for like $900.
What? I have a
Oh
hardcover.
my goodness.
What?
Oh, she's like, I got that.
I'm gonna go get my hardcover. Sell that on eBay.
I guess no, this was Amazon.
What?
I guess it was the recent.
No way.
It's
Wow.
out of the hardcovers. Out of
Whoa.
print. Hopefully they'll bring it back in print.
Go
But yeah,
ahead, Jessica Harris.
that today. But you know, she's not gonna get any money of that.
Oh no.
We
No.
make money on
No.
old books.
Amazon's taking all that.
Right, that's a secondary.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
bookseller gets that
You
one.
don't buy from
Yeah.
Amazon.
Wow.
Okay, so let's go to Kawana.
Summer reads, I'm gonna say Farrah Rashan's got coming out, the dating playbook, so definitely pre-order that.
Yeah.
And Kayi Alderson's Sisters in Arms, loved it. That's coming out. I'm lucky enough to get pre-read, sorry.
Nice.
But pre-order those books, those are fantastic. So that, and my pleasure things are K-dramas. So watch Vincenzo if you haven't watched Vincenzo.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Those are fun.
Okay, thank you.
We have a niece who's
Oh,
into
and
that.
upcoming
But now
pre-order
your
my
book, you've
Keanu
got-
book. That's order How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days. I need to plug that. That's coming out.
Yes,
It's a super fun road trip romance, and I like it. So yes, there you go.
When's
and
it
I'll
coming
ship
out?
to Vanessa so that you
When's
guys
it come out?
can get
When's it
that.
come out?
Oh, Keanu comes out November 2nd.
Okay.
Okay, but we can pre-order it now.
You can pre-order it now.
pre-order.
It's up
Yep.
to pre-order now. It's so much fun. Yeah.
We're pre-ordering it.
Please
right after
pre-order
we
it.
get off this call.
It was my pandemic getaway. I really enjoyed writing that book.
Sounds great. All right, Vanessa.
I just got this, A Low Country Bride by Press Williams. Excellent read, or looks like an excellent read, which I'm pretty sure it is an excellent read because I just got it. And of course, Farashan's the playbook that's coming out this summer. Kaya Alderson, Sisters in Arms. And for me, in 30 days, Island Queen.
Island Queen, girl.
Yep.
Island Queen. Yes, that is a
Already pre-ordered that one.
Yes.
Yes.
Island Queen. Island Queen is based on a true story, a true woman named Dorothy Kerwin Thomas, who defies every last stereotype and block that you've ever put on people of color or Black women during the Georgian and Regency eras. She starts enslaved, but she does not stop there. She buys her freedom, the freedom of her family, and she goes on to build she becomes one of the wealthiest women in the West Indies. She has an affair with a prince. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. Yeah, Meghan wasn't the first one. She's the one that, married him, but, she wasn't the first one. They like us.
I
All
like
right,
it.
Island Queen, where it's at. Island Queen. All right, Alyssa.
Once you go Black, you don't go back.
Is it my turn? So Vanessa and Kwana already listed several of the books that I was going to say that I was looking for in my Kindle. An arc that I'm reading right now is Kaylin Barron's next book, This Poison Heart, I believe it's called. I just looked at it and it immediately flew out of my head. But Kaylin Barron, she wrote Cinderella's Dead, and it's a YA. Believe this book is a kind of take on The Secret Garden, but with supernatural powers and plant magic and stuff.
Ooh, that sounds good.
And I believe it comes out this month. I have no idea what month it is, even really. June? Yes, it comes out this summer, I think. And yes, and the books they already listed, and I don't know when my next book is coming out, but I am working on a graphic novel, which is based on in the Reluctant Royal series, in the novella Can't Escape Love, there was a fake anime called Reject Squad Ultra, and now it will be a graphic novel. The illustrator is O'Neill Jones, who is an amazingly talented artist, and I can't even believe that this is actually happening. But that's not coming out until 2024, because it takes a long time to draw and stay healthy. So 2024 Reject Squad will probably have some other title, but that's what I'm working on the script now so that O'Neill Jones can get to working on it.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time with us tonight, guys. We really appreciate it. And
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Go out and buy their books. You can visit us at the antiracist-table.com. Hope you guys have a wonderful summer. Stay safe, get vaccinated, get back out there.
Yeah. Enjoy your summer, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. I'm going to take a picture of us.
Oh, yes. We lost Alyssa.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Well,
Alyssa's like, bye, y'all. That was fun. Thank you all.
I know. She's like, I'm out.
Thank you all.
Did you get your picture?
Here.
I did. I think I got it. Yes.
Okay.
I got one. Hopefully somebody got something with Alyssa.
Yes. Oh, you can always go back to the video and then
I'll go back.
That's what
That'll
I
be
do
good.
usually. You have to try to find one, where your mouth's not like,
I know.
like we talked about in the beginning.
I'm always a mess in these. This is fun. Good to see you all.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you all.
Lovely.
Yeah, you were
on Twitter.
Thank you for the work you
Thank
do.
you. See you on Twitter. That's right. See you on Twitter.
Yes, see you on Twitter. Miss Bev, we're looking forward to your June all-month positive Black men. I've been retweeting your stuff.
That's what I'm
and
doing.
taking your articles and putting them on our platform.
Okay, good. Yeah, I got to post somebody for today. So
Okay, I'll keep
And
an
I'm
eye
not gonna
out.
forget that secret project, Ms. Bev. I'm gonna just be waiting.
Yeah, I have something to hopefully tell you by the end of the month. So
Oh, thank you. Something
All right.
to look forward
Time
to.
off to enjoy yourselves. And your
take
family.
care. Politics and Pros, thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr.
very
Politics and
much.
Pros.
Don't forget about the
Thank
Ripped
you.
Bodice who also
And Ripped
participated.
Bodice.
Yes,
Ripped
Thank you, Ripped
Bodice.
Thank you,
Bodice.
Ripped
Thank
Bodice.
you.
We love you,
Thank you.
Mia Leah.
All right,
Thank
everyone
you.
have a good
Anti-Racist
Love
evening.
Table. You all are great. This was
Thank
so
you.
much fun.
Bye.
Have us
Thank
back.
you.
We'll act better next time.
Okay.